Once patient load started going above a million, things started to slow down. We also had a deployment in a clinic. They also started having issues with using openEHR alone as their clinical data repository. Yes, there is value in fhir and openEHR. openEHR is great for data modeling, but then it doesn't scale when we start querying on some complex queries and actually joining all of this data. We moved completely from the openEHR fhir platform to a SQL-based platform. We were blown away at how easy it was for our developers to just start building things on top. Performance was incredible. We moved from something like 2 seconds for a particular AQL query down to 100 milliseconds. Since our team was so small, and then we got all of these projects immediately in the previous year, we didn't really have the capacity to deliver all of these projects ourselves. We actually got help from other service providers. Most of these service providers did not really meet our quality standards. I am really sorry to a lot of customers. Now in the new year, we have decided to do something completely different, which is we are not going to have any more service partners. Hey there, I'm Dr. Sidharth Ramesh, the founder of Medblocks. I wish you all a happy new year. And 2025 has been crazy for us. We grew from a 10-person team all the way to 25. And it's been crazy. I just want to go over what we've been doing, things we've learned, and we've just taken a lot of projects from theory and conception to production this year. There's a lot that we did right, and there's also a bunch of things that we did wrong. And in this video, I just want to go over all of this and share with you as openly as I can what we are up to and what we are doing. So first, I'll start with our Indian deployments. The first thing was my own dad's hospital in RTI hospital. We actually have been in production for a very long time, but it's been based on openEHR and fhir, and we built the EHR based on that. And once the patient load started going above a million, and this is again pretty common in India, you have 1 million patients visiting the hospital in a year, easy. Things started to slow down, and we didn't really expect that. We weren't able to do the queries that we were usually doing, and again, as the patient volume went up, we had a lot of issues. Now, at the same time, we also had a deployment in a clinic, which is again, they have multiple health centers. We published a more detailed case study on them, and they also started having issues with using openEHR alone as their clinical data repository. So what we did was, this is when we came up with this idea that, okay, openEHR is great for data modeling, but then it doesn't scale when we start querying on some complex queries and actually joining all of this data. So we were already on the edge about moving to a different format, and almost everyone on the team were already comfortable with SQL, and the tools were already available for SQL, and we are big Postgres fans, so almost everything was on Postgres. So the first thing that we did was move from purely using openEHR and fhir as the data structure underneath, and again using Airbase and Happy fhir, to just using Postgres to store all of this data directly. And we started indexing these things ourselves. Again, even before this, we had been indexing Airbase and all of these open source openEHR implementations. But this time we went even further, and we just removed the Airbase layer completely, and we replaced that with just a thin validation layer for openEHR, and we stored all the data natively in Postgres. Now, around the same time, I think this was in January, February this year, the Sparsh group of hospitals, again, they have millions of patients flowing through them. They're pretty big multi-specialty hospital. They came to us asking for help with analytics on top of their data. And this was quite a big data set. There was a lot of complex BI workflow to be done. And we started crunching this on Iceberg plus Trino, and again, that's a proper data warehousing solution, similar to Snowflake or Redshift from AWS. So when we started doing that, we really realized that, okay, you know what, the data world is in SQL, and we are trying to do all of these complex transforms, these joins. We are trying to do all of these analytics on top of data structures that most of the industry doesn't really use or care about. Like, yes, there is value in fhir and openEHR and like doing it a certain way, but when it comes to actually using this data, and like the tooling wasn't just available. So we had to, again, even for the Sparsh project, this was again analytics at scale. We started using SQL data models. And again, this is where our whole our direction changed quite a bit from what we were doing in the previous years, from just using openEHR and fhir and all of these standards to build your health data platform. We were almost like, okay, the data models are great in these data platforms. We can take them and use them, but then model them on something that works for scale and works with every tool that's already available. So we started modeling almost all of the openEHR CKM archetypes as SQL tables. We started modeling the fhir resource as like simple flat SQL tables. That is a project that we are calling health tables. And again, we've started implementing them that in production for a lot of our customers. But the origin for why we even needed that was here in India, where again, if things don't scale, they just don't work. There is no way that you are able to handle like 5 million patients using things that don't scale, right? So we had to adapt, and we had to like move in the direction which our customers needed. Now, in the second quarter of this year, we actually started rolling out these SQL data models for a bunch of our customers in production. So previously, again, we just had a thin layer of validation. We were using Postgres already, but then we completely ripped that out and we replaced that with just fully flat SQL tables. And we were blown away at how easy it was for our developers to just like start building things on top, because again, there is so much tooling already available. The AI tools were able to understand the data models much better, and performance was incredible. Like we moved from something like 2 seconds for a particular AQL query down to like 100 milliseconds. And it was like immediately visible that this is how you do things when you're scaling. And the first implementation was again at my father's hospital in RTI Hospital, Karur, where we moved completely from the openEHR fhir platform to a SQL-based platform. And we could immediately hear everybody's response that, okay, things are just so much faster, the latency is much better, and everything just works more reliably. And again, that's like just what we got from them. Now, moving to our international work and like what we've been doing around the world, we also started our work with Biocytics and the Dr. Powderly, and he's been running a cancer research institute in North Carolina. And we have done many visits in the past. We've already we've talked about all of this, but then this year was when we actually started building the first openEHR based solution for the US. And this is a proper site in the US where we started deployments. And again, they are a cancer research institute, but they have an EHR, they have an EDC, they need a solution which like works seamlessly together. And we've started work with them, and again, that's going quite well. We did talk about the SQL data models, and it's not a purely openEHR based approach, but what we are doing is we are using the openEHR archetypes, and we are using the openEHR CKM's data models to actually represent things in SQL. Now, this is again the same time where I had a talk in Barcelona about the same thing, about health tables. And I thought that the whole openEHR community would be against this whole idea, that they would all come back to me and like, hey, this is a bad idea. But surprisingly, the only people who sort of didn't like it were the OG openEHR folks who were like, they're like, okay, will this work? If people have done this before. But almost everybody else who have had some experience implementing this in production, they just like came to me and they're like, I want to tell you how great this whole thing is, and what you've done just makes so much sense, because they don't want to train developers to use all of these standards. They just want something that works. And the real value of all of this is in the data models, like the maximal data models. So again, the maximal data models on SQL is sort of taking root a lot more than I thought. And we don't know where it'll go. But again, we are still working before we fully open source that. And this year we've had implementations both in the US as well as in Canada. Another big provider in Canada also adopted health tables as their transactional database. I can't yet reveal the name, but they are huge, and they also started experimenting a bit with health tables and the OpenEHR based data models in SQL. So talking about open source, this year we also open sourced a major library called OpenFHIR, which converts OpenEHR and FHIR bidirectionally. So you give it an OpenEHR composition, it's able to convert it to FHIR and like vice versa. And you just need to define the mappings once. Now, again, we worked with Gasper and we worked with the HIMED consortium to actually build this. And they are already like using this to move data between different university hospitals. And the engine, again, is being used in production. We have these mappings that are written for multiple OpenEHR to FHIR data models. And again, you can check it out today. It's fully open source. Now, you might ask, like, how does this tie back to like what we are saying? Well, we started this work a little earlier and we did have to finish this. So we still think there are a few institutions that just want to use OpenEHR and just want to use FHIR, and that's completely fine. But when we recommend people to start something new from scratch, we are probably going to recommend our own take on the SQL maximal data models instead of like going with OpenEHR or FHIR. So I think the right way to probably do something in this space would be to have your maximal representation of these healthcare data models in SQL, a database like Postgres, and then you build a FHIR facade, you accept FHIR data, you accept OpenEHR data, do whatever you want, but then you have full control over that data in your own database, right? So you can deploy it anywhere, you can use any tools you want. New developers are just able to understand and start working with it immediately. So this year has also been quite heavy on the services that we've rendered. So again, like we've released so many case studies. We've done a lot of work with Couchbase on releasing their FHIR server, which is built on top of their NoSQL data platform. And we are yet to publish performance benchmarks on how this actually compares against like a traditional SQL database. So we will do that in the coming few weeks. But it's been great to just start working on some of these projects from scratch. Like again, we are going from 0 to 1. There's been no FHIR server that works on top of a NoSQL database properly. So a lot of this work was also like discovering what exactly to do and how exactly to do this. And here is where I also think, since our team was so small, and then we got all of these projects immediately in the previous year, where we didn't really expect so many people to come up and sign up with us. We didn't really have the capacity to deliver all of these projects ourselves. So what I did was we actually got help from other service providers. We onboarded them onto our team, and then we started giving them a lot of these projects. Now, initially I thought, okay, this is what most people do. This is what most service companies do. So we will just give them all of the support and help that they need to deliver, and they should be able to deliver at the same quality as us, right? Now, that's again where I was terribly wrong. What actually happened was most of these service providers did not really meet our quality standards even. And again, like we did do a check on them, but then what they were doing was they would say that they were assigning these people full-time to us to actually like work on these projects, but then in the background they'll be working on 5 or 6 other projects. And that is like how they work. Like they basically usually work by inflating the number of hours they bill to these other customers. And again, these are big firms. They have an established service business in India, and I have no idea how they are surviving with this level of quality. But we were always a team of renegades, right? Like I'm a clinician, my co-founder Purna is a clinician. Vipin joined our team after like he saw our boot camp. He joined through the boot camp. Then there is Aditya. He also joined our team after like his parents own an ophthalmology center and he wanted to do something there. So like almost everybody on our team, the way we've grown our team has been about people really wanting to do something in the healthcare space. And when we have a customer or when we work or like do something, we really want to give our best to actually make a difference, and we are trying to push how things should be done. And when again, like our revenue went from around like 200,000 US dollars all the way to like 1 million in the previous year. But again, we did not have the team in place to really execute on that level of income, right? Like we didn't scale the team because we were always looking for people who really want to do this, and we were always small and tiny. And when we outsourced a lot of this work, we just couldn't maintain that same level of quality, and it showed. Like I am really sorry to a lot of customers this year where we wanted to, we really wanted to do better, but we couldn't because again, we didn't say no to you in the beginning. Like what we should have said is, okay, our own team is full. We don't have capacity to take you on, but instead we like took it on, and then we tried to make it work with other external partners. Now in the new year, we have decided to do something completely different, which is we are not going to have any more service partners. We are going to do everything ourselves. And again, scaling a team is really hard. It's really hard to find people who really want to do this. And we usually only take people like that because our culture is already built around this whole like passion to actually change something in healthcare. So if you're interested, like do let me know. Like I really want to hire someone who's like interested in doing this. But next year we are basically going to go again from 1 million in revenue back to 300,000, just because we don't want to take on any more that we ourselves can't deliver. We are not going to have any service customers go to any other vendor, right? And it's been a terrible mistake, and we did learn our lesson, and we probably won't have capacity for a lot of our customers in next year. But again, for those who do, we will try to provide the best quality service possible. Again, we also worked with Fava Health, which is a startup based out of the UK. Its founder is Videha. He's come on our podcast, and they are doing like really cool stuff in pharmacogenomics, where again, like if you have a certain genetic trait or a certain allele, then a certain drug probably won't be the best for you. And we are again, we built out a lot of the platform and a lot of the clinical decision logic. They are working next year to integrate with real EHRs in the UK. So that's something to look out for. I'm like really hyped to see what comes out of that. So we also open sourced our work with the Catalan government, where we had to work on federating different hospitals and like moving data from one hospital to another purely based on openEHR. And we have again a detailed case study on that as well. Like you can check it out if you're interested. But the whole thing is open source. It works on Kafka. But the thing that we noticed here as well is it doesn't scale when you have to query on millions of patient records. And there were a lot of performance issues that we had to overcome, especially when like you work on 8 million patients together in one single openEHR data repository. So there were that was the main motivation behind like breaking things out into different things. But there is also like this its own governance and like each Catalan health system like being able to choose their own EHR sort of thing going on. But even if they were to like put one single data platform, I think just the overhead of having these standards reduce performance and like the slow AQLs and so on, it could all have been easily overcome by just taking the ideas of openEHR, the things that we've been working on, like which is like health tables, and then implementing them directly as SQL data models instead. So that's again like a learning that we had to do on the job. Now overall, again, I I don't really know what else to say, but I think this year has been really good for us as a company. We've grown a lot. We've gotten a lot of new customers, and the growth has been insane that like we are not able to really handle it, and we are not able to scale our team fast enough. So we really have to say no to a lot of customers. And again, the way we do services is through our sprint offering, where again we just charge you a fixed fee for a quarter, like 45,000 US dollars per quarter, and we literally give you a team to work on. And it's just been really hard to get anyone else on the market who's able to do that for the same level of quality. So again, this year is going to be us saying no to a lot of people just because we want to retain the quality that we are known for. And when you have a lot of customers who come and tell that this is the best thing that they've seen in terms of services, and like we do an excellent job, and then again another group of customers who come back and tell you that, hey, your team is not good, your team sucks, and they're not able to do this thing well. So it really hurts, and it doesn't make sense. So again, this year we are we're basically bootstrapped from the beginning. We never raised money. We've always been, we've always made a profit and then used that to grow the rest of the business. So we are not under any pressure to just like have insane growth. So I think next year we are just going to say, no, you know what, like we're not going to take up a lot of projects, but the ones that we do take up, we are going to do them as well as possible. And yeah, it's a lot of it's a lot of learnings, it's a lot of different things, but overall I think next year is probably going to be hopefully much better. We're saying no to all our external service vendors. We are saying no to things that don't scale. We are again like going back to the basics, doing things that work, doing things that are easy for other people to adopt and learn. And we'll keep you updated on the progress that we make on health tables, on how as a company we grow. But I really thank you for all the support. I don't think it would have been possible with all of you and your wonderful support. I really thank you. And if you're interested in joining us, or if you just want to work with us, do let us know. We'll try our best to see if we can like make one of our teams work with you, but mostly next year would probably have to be like it won't be like 2025, and it's going to be a little bit more selective in the kind of work that we do. But yeah, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.